The Raging Kucing here with Joanne McArthur of The Ghost in Our Machine. Great pleasure to have you speaking to us today, Joanne. Thanks so much for taking the time.
You too.
We're at the Animal Advocacy Camp conference being put on by Liberation B.C. And so you had a chance to speak yesterday, and of course you were showing parts from the film. And
from the book.
From the book, sorry, We Animals.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like in terms of, or what's the most important part for you when you're capturing the images of the animals that you have?
I just want people to consider animals. We don't consider animals in our world and in our lives. They're invisible. So we wear them and it's leather. It's not a cow. We eat spare ribs, not a pig. And we test on them. They're in our toothpaste and they're just invisible. So I'm trying to get people to think about animals, how we use them every single day and how we're all complicit. Some of us more than others, but I want to put a face and a name to animals. They are suffering by the billions at our hands, but we don't know who they are. So I want people to know who they are. So I document individuals, be individuals in factory farms or at sanctuaries and so on.
Wonderful, yeah, and I mean your images are really vivid and really capture the soul of each animal individually. And I wonder. I noticed that the eyes are really important, and it seems in a lot of your work. And there's kind of an old idea, I guess, that the eyes are like the gateway to the soul. And does that have any meaning for you when you go the body? Like, how does the body represent in your shots?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's about the eyes for sure and making a connection, because if an animal is looking into my lens and making a connection with me, anyone who looks at the photo is going to make that connection as well, because there's a direct contact. So that's important. But also just getting close to animals, because we don't get close to animals. Some of us have been eating animals our whole lives but have never even been on a farm. And so to be able to meet a pig close up, and especially when they come up and they engage with the camera, like the cows do that, chickens do that, turkeys do that, and they come up and they make their grunting sounds, or they want to talk with the human behind the camera. That's pretty exceptional, and people don't know that we can have that kind of relationship with animals.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my bearing witness, is to bring that to people.
That's so important, I think, for sure. When we talk about bodies and the borders, right? Sometimes we see animals in zoos, or we were just at the aquarium, and so people have this idea, this relationship with other animals that's disconnected, and it's not sort of that authentic relationship of them being able to experience us. It's just us kind of like seeing them the way we want to see, or the way they're shown to us, and so without that ability to connect, and like at the farm sanctuary when you go there, like they are able to see their interest in having that emotional connection just as much as our interest.
That's right.
In having it. Yeah.
Exactly. And we were just at the aquarium at the protest, which was great. Yeah. And one of the signs on the wall says, it's a beluga, and it says, "Welcome to our world," or something. But this couldn't be farther from the truth, because there's nothing natural about where we've put them. And so with animals in captivity, it's just a constant falseness that we're sort of playing a part in, or we're playing a part in it, but we're pretending like we're ignoring nature, we're ignoring the animal, we're seeing the animal as an object for our amusement. We're not seeing the animal for who they are.
Yeah, and we perpetuate kind of the lie to ourselves, right? In that sense that this is the way it's supposed to be, right? Rather than this is how it is in a different world, right? Or in the wild or something, or at the aquarium, for example, they frame it as it's they live longer or something like that. They'll make these claims when it's not the truth even, right? So we create an alternative kind of history or even science around it that
part of what we're looking here at the conference is speciesism, and how we put ourselves at the top of everything. And because we are supposedly the smartest, we have the right to control everyone, but of course we don't, and that's no way to maintain any kind of ecosystem or biodiversity or happiness or truth, in the world. It's a pretty corrupt way of doing things.
Yeah. Definitely. And that anthropocentric view of everything, right, is just disregards kind of the embeddedness that people have in the world. Like, we separate ourselves, we say, humans versus animals, rather than just being a part of that animal world in a more ecocentric sort of.
We'd be so much happier, if we just treated other animals with respect. And we don't, because we think it's to our advantage, because we want to eat chicken 3 times a day, but everyone loses. I think we lose, our health loses, the animals lose, the environment loses. So if we could just think long term and include everyone and understand that animals are sentient and are here for their own reasons and have moral significance, then we have so much to learn. But that's why I do humane education as well. I'm in schools, just talking about widening our circle of compassion to include animals and trying to make better people. Yeah, definitely. And everywhere you go, you seem to have a really positive effect. Just seeing you here, right, in terms of educating people, but also inspiring people to look at other animals in different ways, right? Look at their situation in different ways, and that's certainly shown through the book as well. I was wondering, how do you see your work progressing then in the future? Or where do you see it going? What direction? Do you want to stay with photography, or is there something else you'd like to do in terms of that? I keep on the path that I'm on right now. I'd like to do as many campaigns as I can, until I'm too old to do them. And because I think I have a skill that I can contribute in a meaningful way, and I'm good at what I do, so I'd like to keep doing it. Humane Ed is really important. So I have humaneeducation.ca, and I'm in schools and community centers quite a bit, and I really need to develop that and have more curriculum for that. And I have 2 more book ideas, and the next one I've been writing it sort of in my head for about 2 years now, and I'll get to actually finally get to work on that starting at the end of the year. And
do you have a name for it?
I don't. It's funny because We Animals came to me. I didn't even have to think of the name. I thought I want to do a story on animals, and it was going to be named We Animals, and that was that. The next book, like I said, I've been writing it in my head for 2 years, and I still don't have a name. It's really frustrating, but I'll probably divulge, not now, but soon, what that book is. I'm really excited about it, and it'll be inspiring. The book is meant to inspire people to become more eco-conscious and become activists.
Yeah, and that's an interesting part sometimes. There's a separation almost made, and just from my experience, I feel like animal activists tend to take on a lot of eco-conscious concerns, environmental concerns, but sometimes I find a lot of resistance from the environmentalist, specific movement to the animal movement. There seems to be we should protect the environment for ourselves, but if there happens to be animals in the environment, that's of no consequence. There seems to be a double standard almost.
I agree. I agree. Animal rights also should have been part of the eco movement that started decades ago, and it's so interesting that didn't get swept up in it. And I think it's a convenience thing. I think it's because we want to be able to, use them for all the things that we use them for. So that was sort of conveniently overlooked when, why weren't animals included in the environment movement when it started?
Yeah. How can you even imagine the environment without animals?
It doesn't make sense. It's all entwined.
Yeah, definitely. It's hopefully in the future we'll see those kind of changes, integrate more, and see some things happen.
Well, here we're meeting lots of people who are involved directly in that, so it's really inspiring.
Yeah, Dylan Powell gave a great talk this morning about how we need to expand out and work with other groups and organize in a more cohesive way, and I think that'll be really that kind of thinking will be really profound in leading the movement in the future.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Now there's a lot more and more people doing it though. So.
Yes, that's right. It's entering our consciousness definitely more and more. It's hard to avoid in many cases. So I know you work very, very hard. You're always on the run.
Wasn't I just telling you how tired I am?
Yes. So I'm not going to make you talk too long, but we do have one last question that we do ask people on the Raging Kucing, and it's kind of the toughest one for most people. Okay. It's what's their favorite animal?
That is a tough one. And for whatever reason, like we all have affinities to certain animals, and I'm not sure why, and I sort of want to fight that. But the bears, you heard me talk about
the moon bears.
The moon bears,
yeah, okay.
And they're all. I mean, so many animals are really resilient, as are we.
Mm-hmm.
We're animals too, but I guess I've seen directly the incredible resilience of these animals who've been rescued, who've lived their lives in cages and have been traumatized animals, and then come around and can lead happy lives and are such loving, silly. They're silly, you know what? I like silly animals, and there's just a silliness about them. They're so bumbly. And chickens and pigs as well. I've spent a lot of time with chickens and pigs, and they're so smart and curious and charming.
Yeah, once you get to like actually engage with them, right? You get to see you know that they want to play, they want to like be creative in that sense. But you got to pick one.
Oh. No, I'm not playing by your rules.
Oh, come on.
No.
Okay, a top favorite. It doesn't
That's
have to be
the same thing.
It doesn't have to be the top.
Okay.
Just give me one.
Okay, well, I guess the animal that moves me the most are the pigs.
The pigs?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we usually ask people to do then is do their best impression of their favorite animal. So that's why I wanted you to pick one. So will you do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
So when they come up to you to greet you, so people, imitate pigs like oinking or but what they do is they grunt at you when they come up to say hello, especially. And it's a bad imitation, but they say sort of like, they go,
okay.
And chimps sort of make that noise too, but pigs will come up and grunt into your face with an open mouth. And when they come at you with an open mouth, it's like, hi, nice to see you. Who are you? So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a good sport and doing this for us. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
You too.
And thank you so much for all your work. It's wonderful.
You as well. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.